Hey, I'm Teja Gerken with Peghead Nation, and you just heard me play through the latest acoustic instrument preamp by Grace Designs. This is a brand new box. It's called the Moxy. It's a 2-channel preamp, and it's sort of a scaled down version of their flagship FELiX preamp that also kind of brings in some of the features that we've seen on some of their simpler preamps into a new box, and I think it kind of rounds out their line of preamps very nicely. So let's take a closer look. So first off, my setup here today is I was playing my Martin OM that has a LR Baggs Anthem SL pickup system built into it. I'm going through this Fishman SA330X compact PA system here in the studio, and that's the basic setup that we're working with. And I was going straight through channel 1 of this new Grace Designs MOXi preamp. So even though Grace Designs came on the acoustic amplification scene fairly recently within the last several years, the company actually has a 30-plus year history building high-end studio preamps, microphone preamps, and other studio equipment. The company was founded by Michael Grace, and he was later joined by his brother Eben Grace, and so it's a family business, and it's an interesting approach to take acoustic amplification with the background of having produced really high-end studio equipment. And that is really something that has shown in their products. And they entered the market with their FELiX preamp, which is sort of the big brother to this particular box, the 2-channel preamp that pretty much has every feature you could possibly imagine for an acoustic instrument preamp built into it. Many pro players have started using the Grace FELiX. It's a wonderful box. I did a demo of it here on Peghead Nation several years ago, so we'll link to that in the text and you can check that out. But the FELiX does have a lot of features that many players won't need. So Grace has already come out with 2 additional single-channel preamps, the ALiX and the BiX. This is the latest design that sort of takes some of the simplified features from the BiX and the ALiX, but in a 2-channel version. So if you need 2 channels but don't need all the features that the FELiX offers, this new Moxy just might be your box. So fundamentally, I've already mentioned the unit has 2 channels, and that in itself is noteworthy because there aren't that many acoustic instrument preamps that offer 2 channel strips. And what is that useful for? Number one, if you have an instrument with 2 pickups, you can run them into this unit and control the EQ and the gain for each pickup separately. To make this really easy, channel 2 of this uses a TRS input, so you can run a single stereo cable from your instrument with 1 pickup at the tip, 1 at the ring, run them completely separate and do the blending in this box. So that is a great feature on this that again, there aren't very many preamps that do this. The other reason, of course, would be if you're running 2 instruments. You can run one through channel 1, the other one through channel 2. You have completely independent control over each instrument and can sort of fine-tune each instrument sound. And that is particularly great if the 2 instruments aren't the same kind. Let's say you're not just playing 2 guitars, but you're playing guitar and mandolin, or guitar and fiddle, or mandolin and fiddle. Instruments that might need pretty different gain and EQ settings. This is really a great way to have one box to run them both in, but still have a single DI output. So you're not dealing with completely separate channel strips. So that is in itself a wonderful feature, and many people have used the Grace FELiX for that reason, but now there's a simpler and also a little bit smaller option for that. This is going to fit on your pedal board a little bit more easily. So let's run through each one of these strips. They're two identical channel strips. We have gain, starts with a gain control. And I should add that these knobs have these slight indentations and they just feel really solid to use. They're metal knobs. The whole housing is made out of metal. The whole unit is super sturdy. But the knobs have slight indentations, so it's hard to move them accidentally. Once you set them, they're probably going to stay right there. So we start with gain. And then we have a 3-band EQ with tunable mids. And so we have low, mid, the mid frequencies, and the high. And of course, the mid frequencies are really sort of where the magic with a lot of acoustic preamps happens, because a lot of acoustic instruments tend to benefit from being able to fine-tune those frequencies and really dial in the most natural sound with that. I'm going to come back and plug back in and show you what the EQ sounds like in just a moment once we go through the features here. The final knob over here on the first line of knobs for channel 1 is a boost control, and that selects how much of a boost you are getting with the boost switch that you get in here. You might have noticed when I was playing the intro, I hit that for a moment and got a little bit louder setting. Typically, you might use this if you're playing a solo or if you have a quiet section that you want to raise up a little bit. Great feature, and you can set how much of a boost you're getting with that. On the other channel, the final control is basically a blend between channel 1 and channel 2, and there's an indentation in the middle to make it very easy to find the center of it. 3 foot switches. One goes between channel 1 and 2. The other one is the boost that I already mentioned. And there's also a mute button. So you can mute your signal if you're plugging in or if you're tuning for whatever reason when you don't want to have your instrument be live. On the back of the unit, we have 1/4-inch inputs for channel 1 and 2. I already mentioned channel 2 is set up as a TRS input, tip ring sleeve. That means you can plug in a stereo 1/4-inch cable and access the 2 channels that way. We have phase controls for each channel next to the input jacks. We have effect return, send, and return. Also 1/4-inch jacks. Of course, they go into both channels. We have an amp out. You would use that as a 1/4-inch output for the unit. Let's say you're running the DI output, that's XLR, to your PA. You can use the amp output to go to your amp and have a separate signal feed going to your amp or your monitor. There's a ground lift next to the DI output, and the unit is run by standard 9-volt pedal power. It could either be a single power supply that the unit actually comes with, or most typical pedal board power supplies will work with this, and that is another feature that makes it integrate really nicely into a pedal setup, whereas the FELiX and the ALiX use AC power straight into the box. And there's pluses and minuses to each approach, but in terms of integrating into a pedal board, this is certainly the easier way to do it. We also have a set of dip switches over here, and what they do is they control the way the channel switching works. You can turn low-level 6-volt phantom power for each one of the channels on or off in case you're powering internal microphones, and you can turn the boost function off on channel 1. So there's a lot of flexibility that you can set up with these dip switches, but it's not very complicated to get into. And a couple of features on the front that I omitted to mention earlier. Each channel has a high-pass filter switch. That's a 75 hertz high-pass filter that can be, again, used to kind of fine-tune your sound, get rid of some boomy frequencies with that. And there are also LEDs for each channel that will change the color if you're overdriving the channel, so you can check that out. And there's a general power LED right here. I'm not plugged in right now, so it's not lighting up, but once I plug back in, you'll be able to see. Of course, the fact that Grace has a background in making high-end studio mic preamps is shown and reflected in this unit. Very high quality output transformers. I noticed how quiet the operation of this is, and just the entire design of it just has a very solid, high quality feel. Metal parts, and just has the same feeling that you would expect from a high-end piece of studio gear. Let me plug back in and kind of run through the channel and show you what the EQ sounds like on the unit. Okay, so I'm plugged back in. I've got the Moxy set up over here so you can see it. Going through channel 1, through the channel 1 input. Again, I'm using my Martin OM with the ALiX Anthem pickup system, which is of course an active pickup system. The Moxy of course has enough headroom and enough gain in the preamp that you could use it with passive pickups. Even Grace was telling me that he's been using it with K and case in his own guitar. I'll just run through. I've got everything set flat right now. Got the gain turned down currently. If I'm turning it up, I mentioned how the controls change color if you're overdriving it. It's happening right there. So I'm going to turn that down just a little bit. And again, right now the EQ is totally flat. My guitar is in a low C tuning, so I've got a low C, G, D, G, C, D. So we're getting a lot of low end from the guitar. I'm actually quite happy with the sound as it is, completely flat. But I think I liked what I was hearing before when I was demoing it a little bit better, and I had tweaked the EQ just a little bit. And usually what I would start out with, I mentioned the mid control, and I will kind of boost the mid, go through the frequencies, find out what I don't like. In this case, there's something right here, right around 400, and I'll cut that a bit, a little bit more natural there. I might boost my highest just a little bit. That's a slightly more natural sound that reflects the tone of this guitar a little bit more. If I wanted to add some low end, there's lots of low end to be added here. Again, this is a low C right now. Gives me a lot of control over that. That would probably be a little bit too much. Let's say I wanted to add just a little bit. That would just give me a little bit more oomph without overdoing it. I could of course also cut some. It would really depend on your guitar, your pickup system, and the speakers you're playing through, which is exactly why using a box such as this is so useful, especially if you're playing in different situations a lot. If you're not always playing to the same PA or the same amplifier, different rooms, really makes it easy to fine-tune your sound for that. Let me put that back to being flat. And same with the high end. If I needed to cut through a little bit more, or cut some high end, go back to the middle for starters, or cut the highest. Really use it to either add a little bit of sort of definition or take away some of that zing if you have a little bit too much going on, especially on your treble string. So in my case, I was quite happy with having dialed out some of those mid frequencies that I didn't like, and yeah, I'm basically off to the races with the sound that I'm getting now. Again, having the tunable mid control is a super helpful feature for me when I'm fine-tuning acoustic instruments. I really prefer to be on stage with a preamp that has tunable mids, because I just really find it so useful to dial in my sound. So that is the controls explained just on channel 1. Channel 2 is identical. So again, if you had a 2 pickup system instrument, or we're running 2 instruments, you could fine-tune each channel. I don't currently have a guitar that has a dual output pickup system here, so I can't show you what that is like, but it is a very useful feature. Let's say you have a magnetic pickup and a soundboard transducer like a K&K, something similar to that, which is a popular combination. You could do all your blending right here, use a stereo cable out, EQ them separately, and sort of optimize the sound for the two pickup systems in one box, rather than needing a blending system on board or two channels into the mixing board, two DIs. Just very helpful to have that all in one box. And again, the same would be true if I'm using more than one instrument, guitar or mandolin or different instruments that just require different EQ or gain settings. You can have it all here and send it all out in one XLR cable to the sound person and be a happy camper. So that is the new Grace Design MOXi. I think it rounds out their line very nicely. If you've been wanting a two-channel preamp, but the original FELiX is either a little too pricey or has too many features that you might not use or has too big of a footprint, this just might fit the bill. Very similar in its fundamental functionality, but just a little bit slimmed down, a little bit smaller, easier to put in your pedal board, a little more affordable, and just an overall simpler package. So you now have 4 different preamp options coming from Grace Design, 2 single channel preamps, and 2 twin channel preamps, and they're worth checking out. I definitely recommend you give a listen. If you're seeing this on YouTube, do come over to pegheadnation.com, not just for our gear demos, but also for our extensive courses, not just for guitars, but many stringed and fretted instruments. So we'd love to see you there. My name is Teja Gerken. I'll play us out a little bit.